Okay, so sex energy transmutation today. I had this question in the group and I asked what you guys want to hear me talk about. And there's also another question that somebody dropped in regards to how to meditate and calm your mind if you find that your mind is very busy. So I'm going to aim to cover both of those, well, the first one, a really huge topic in a way, but I'm going to give my interpretation and my approach to sex energy transmutation, which is you hear that term thrown around a lot, and it's not a term that I'm normally used very much, even though I do talk about this a lot, but I just use other words. So, sex energy transmutation has been, around since a very long time. Like the ancient Taoists, they were working with this energy work already, more than 5,000 years ago. The ancient tantrics as well. And in more recent modern times, it's become famous through people like Napoleon Hill, for example, talking about sex energy transmutation in his books. And you also hear this quite a lot, and there's different approaches and understandings to this topic. So, in a big way, what people are talking about is how to use your sexual energy, as in your raw sexual energy, the sexual desire and arousal, and how to transform this energy so you can use it for other things than just sex and masturbation. So, very interesting topic, really. And it's become very also much talked about in in business sort of circles, online on Facebook. You hear groups of men who are into, and women, but very often for men who are into um, business and forwarding their goals and ambition and success in a worldly sense, that are starting to learn to use sex energy transmutation in order to really forward their goals and help themselves to be able to really focus on the task at hand, be able to be clear, goal oriented, ambitious, driven, as opposed to being distracted by your sex energy drive. So I quite often, got messages from guys who have mentioned that they have a really high sex energy, and that they very easily feel overwhelmed and frustrated by the sexual energy, and that it distracts them from being able to focus on work. That is something that they think about a lot, and feel the urge to. Sorry, I got a very tickly nose actually. Don't know what's going on. Maybe somebody's thinking about me. Okay. So, yeah, so very often guys that feel that they have a strong sexual energy can feel quite bothered by this and feel the urge to masturbate a lot. And when that gets combined with porn use, it can become a very vicious cycle that I'm sure many of you in this group have already noticed. And it's a circuit that is not pleasant to find yourself in. And a lot of men struggle with how to get out of this and how to be able to get rid of this sort of pressing urge to want to think about sex and want to masturbate or look at women, and that sort of urge where you feel like you run by your sexual energy. You're not the master of your sexual energy. It's the other way around. It's the energy that's master over you. And that's not a very pleasant experience. It's a bit like when we look at animals in nature, that are just overtaken by this biological sexual function, and just have sex because they're on heat, because the female is on heat, and that's the thing that they're driven to do, because the hormones take over and make that happen. So we humans are very much the same. In our animal bodies, we are completely the same. We're also driven by our hormones and all of those things that are involved with that. And but that doesn't mean that that is our only choice, because as humans we have a lot more available to us than animals do. And this is where sex energy transmutation is a very interesting thing. And so there's different approaches here. I mean, the most the most common, I believe, correct me if you find other information in regards to this, is the approach of using your sexual energy and not engaging in sexual activity. So no masturbation, no watching porn, and no sex, and then using that energy to channel it into work, business, visualization of goals, etc. So this is often combined with guys who do like no FAP type semen retention, pure semen retention, where you just don't masturbate, don't have sex, don't ejaculate. Basically, no sexual activity, but using all that energy back to yourself. And this is not something that I actually talk about, because I think there's more effective approaches than that. But just to clarify, which I believe is the main approach out there, and which, if it works for people, then that's great. One thing for sure, I mean, if you used to masturbate and ejaculate often, and you start to retain your semen and only ejaculate very rarely, you're going to notice that you get a lot more energy. In most cases, you will notice more energy, more mental clarity, more willpower, much more energy in general. And I know people who have really successfully used this to channel into business. One colleague online who's really transformed his business with this method. Really, in the moment he started with semen retention and sex energy transmutation, his business has transformed. So very, very interesting this. Yes, so Napoleon Hill talks about this, and a lot of people are interested in it, but very often, if we don't have the bits and pieces involved, it can seem yet again like one of those things that's kind of too hard to grasp and understand. So for most guys who are trapped or let's say have a habit, if you have a habit of masturbating and ejaculating frequently, and that's kind of, you've always had that habit, then if you want to start with sex energy transmutation and start to use your sexual energy to create creative energy and or even spiritual energy, then you will need to change your habits. You can't just start all of a sudden one day and decide, today I'm going to channel my sexual arousal into creativity. You need to start with changing your habits first, because otherwise it's not really going to work. And so the sexual energy can be transformed into creativity, into ambition, but for the spiritual sense, for the people like the tantrics and people that are into spiritual pursuits, they use the sexual energy to transform it into spiritual energy. Yeah, and this is also something that I've heard of quite a lot and encountered with men. In my area, there's a lot of men who are into meditation. And it seems to be that at a certain point they can transform their sexual energy into spiritual energy, to the point that they don't actually feel sexual urges anymore. So that's obviously personal choice, what you want to do with this energy. So I'm just giving a bit of an overview for what's out there from what I have come across. There might be more things too that I haven't heard about for sure. So to transform your sexual energy, the benefits with that is, like I hinted at, is to be able to free yourself from feeling like you are run by your sexual energy. And this is also what I'm hinting at all the time, like in my post yesterday, that the sexually self-empowered man cannot be easily manipulated or controlled. And somebody was asking, but what is sexual self-empowerment really? And this is the thing I'm talking about all the time. It's the skill of and the art of taking charge of your sexual energy, so that you have a choice and you know how to work with the energy, rather than kind of struggling with this energy and allowing yourself to be overtaken by this force of nature, because it is a force of nature that is incredibly powerful, and we can't very successfully suppress it. And in fact, I'd like to say we can't suppress it at all, because it will always come out somewhere. And this is what we've also noticed throughout history, when sex has been suppressed or condemned through the religions, for example, and made sinful, then out of sex comes suppressed sex, comes perversions. And that's something that's come to the light very much in the last years, thanks to modern day global media. We hear about things that were all hidden in the past. When sex is suppressed, it comes out somewhere else if we don't have a conscious way of working with this energy, because it's life force. If you try to push it down in one area, it will pop up somewhere else. And if the pushing down is is not conscious in a way, then it's likely to come out in ways that are also not very conscious. And so I'm hinting at all sorts of sexual dark sexual manifestations that we hear about in this world, like sexual crime, rape, assault, pedophilia, all of those things. The way I understand this is sexual life energy that has not been honored and worked with in a conscious way, but it's been judged and suppressed and probably also damaged and traumatized. In a damaged and traumatized person, it's coming out in ways that are also damaging and traumatizing for others. So this is why I feel like at this point in time, it's more important than ever that us people around the world learn to work with our sexual life force in a conscious way, so that this energy is no longer just running us like on its in a biological sense. If we don't consciously work with this energy, it will run us just like it runs the course for animals, who will kind of just fuck anywhere, with no consideration. And that is something that can also happen to us humans if we don't work with this energy, because it's incredibly powerful. And in saying that, I have no judgment on this energy. It is just pure raw life energy. But as humans, we have the responsibility and the opportunity to utilize this energy in a way that we evolve this energy, that we learn and grow. We are here on the planet Earth in order to grow and evolve and become co-creators of this universe. So we have this incredible energy to be able to work with. And if we just use our sexual energy for sex, that's something that I think all of us have experienced at some point, and that also has a value in itself, and can also be, in my opinion, can also be held in a container that is safe, like really playing with raw primal sexual life energy can also be held in a container that's safe and beautiful, where it doesn't need to harm anyone. But in my experience, it gets to a point where perhaps we will outgrow that first level of expressing our sexual energy from those base levels of our energy bodies, from the lower chakras, like in the Indian tradition, or the lower energy centers, which are all around the lower part of the body, the sex organs. If we express our sexual energy only from that area and only connect with the sexual energy from that area, it will be raw and primal and very earthy, animalistic sex. So this energy, a lot of people that haven't worked with this energy can very easily feel that this energy is, they don't really know what to do with it, except for trying to release it. This is why you hear so many men talking about the need to release, like a man has to relieve himself. I can't stand it anymore. And if you're in a habit of masturbation and ejaculating frequently, that the pure fact of that you are doing that is actually making you want to do it even more. So this is very interesting, a little bit sort of what is the word for it? Counterintuitive, actually. So the more you masturbate and ejaculate, the more you're going to feel like masturbating and ejaculating, strangely, for most people, it seems. So you're getting very easily into a kind of rat race or hamster wheel, I sometimes call it, where you feel the need to release the energy as soon as you built it, and then want to release it again, and then it builds and you want to release it again, and that's how it's very easy to feel trapped. So if this is the situation, and for some people, yeah, we're going to address that now when I'm going to talk about the different options for sex energy transmutation. But it can also be the case for someone who don't feel a pressing urge from their sexual energy, someone who feels that already maybe they have not so strong sexual energy, that maybe sex is not on their mind all the time and they don't feel the urge to masturbate and have sex all the time. So if that's the case for you, you can also work with your sexual energy. You can also learn to transform this energy and utilize it. Yeah. So with this energy, with the sex energy, where to start in this situation? So there's the way that's kind of the mainstream way, the commonly known way of sex energy transmutation, is to use the energy when you feel the sexual energy, and not engage in sex, not engage in masturbation or ejaculation, but to focus your energy instead onto the task at hand, to focus the energy onto getting through your workload, focusing on your goals, and putting that energy consciously into doing the things you want to do. So this can work very well for some people. So if you haven't tried this, you can do this, and that's kind of this simpler way of approaching it. From what I understand, for a lot of men, they need to kind of go through the process also of building the sexual energy and arousing themselves with the thought of the idea of the vision of sex, and then combining that vision and the fantasy of sex with the goals and dreams. So it's like the 3 steps of first not engaging your sexual energy, so not masturbating, having sex, or ejaculating, and then still allowing yourself to be aroused, to feel the arousal, but focusing your thoughts on what it is you want to focus on, whether it is creating a beautiful piece of art if you're an artist, or preparing a speech if you're a speaker, or reaching a deadline at work if you're in business, whatever it is that you want to create. So visualizing your vision, and then as you are reaching the goal line, as you finalizing that piece of art as an artist, you can combine that with the vision of your sexual fantasy fulfilled. Yeah. So this is a bit like sex magic, it's called by some people. And this can be done both by men and women, where we literally running our sexual energy through our body and combining it with visualization of our goals. Okay. So what I want to add now today is the next layer to this. So I believe this method can be very useful in a lot of situations, and I would love to hear your stories if this is something that you practiced yourself and tried out for yourself. I love to hear. You can share in the comments here, and let me know, if you have practiced this and what you've noticed. So what we're talking about in this group a lot, and that I've been touching on over and over and over again, is sex energy transmutation through sex energy cultivation. So this is what the Taoists have been teaching us, and this is the method that I help my clients learn, which is sex energy transformation and transmutation but not through abstinence. So it's not through celibacy or not having sex or not self-pleasuring, but is through engaging in sexual practices that are non-depleting, but that are using the sexual energy and taking it from the base layers, from that primal raw energy, and bringing that energy up into the body so that it can purify and transform and become higher energy that has a very different quality to that raw animalistic sexual energy. So this is where there's no need to be celibate. There's no need to stop having sex or stop self-pleasuring. But there's a great difference, because it's not about having sex the way that most people have done it in the past, which is that circuit of build, release, build, release, build, release, rat race, hamster wheel that so many people are trapped in. But it's about working with your sexual energy consciously and taking the sexual arousal and channeling it up into the body, away from the genitals. Because as long as that energy stays in the lower parts of the body, it will reach a boiling point where you can't hold any more energy there, and you will feel forced. That energy will force its way to exit near the closest exit, which, as we know, where that is for men, through your penis. So this is where it's so important to learn to work with this energy and learn to bring that energy up into the body. And to do this, we need to work with the whole body, because if you haven't done any energy work and you are like most guys, are probably a bit rigid in your body, you're not a yogi and maybe not a dancer, and you maybe have a job in an office where you sit a lot, and maybe you don't exercise a lot. In that case, it probably won't be easy for you to move energy straight away, but you'll need to start to actually work with your whole body to loosen it up and to become more embodied, becoming more aware of your body, so that you can open the energy channels and learn to bring that energy up into your body. So it's in the process of bringing the energy up into the body that you will ease that pressure, that urge of the energy that makes you feel like you just want to release, you just want to fuck, you just want to think about sex or fantasize about sex, or feel needy of, closeness and intimacy with your girlfriend, or obsessed with porn. That quality of the sexual energy disappears when you start to work with the energy and bring it up into your body. It starts to change. It starts to empower you. And this is why I call this sexual self-empowerment. It starts to give you a very different feeling. It starts to help you feel energized and more in control and more balanced and more radiant, more mental clarity, more willpower, more connection to your purpose and desires and visions and goals, and feeling more balanced, feeling like you don't have that so much the need of someone or something else to relieve you and to fulfill you, but you're actually doing that to yourself, because you're actually nourishing your whole body and being with the force of your sexual life energy as you learn to bring this energy up into the body and circulate it in your body. So this is sexual energy transmutation in a way that I love to talk about it and share it with my clients, because it doesn't require you to be abstinent. It doesn't require you to stop self-pleasuring. All it does, it requires you to work consciously with the energy, so that you learn to transform the energy inside your own body. And you can do that via self-pleasure without ejaculation. So you can self-pleasure as much as you want, as long as you don't reach ejaculation. Or let's say you ejaculate only sometimes, fairly rarely. And also it lost my track then. Yes, you can also make love with a partner and still continue to transmute the energy, as long as you're not releasing the energy through ejaculation, but you continue to circulate the energy, continue to bring the energy up into the body. And what happens then is that a lovemaking transforms. It becomes a very different thing. And it is not like that raw animalistic sex anymore. It becomes more of a has more of a spiritual quality, more of a unconditional love, a full-bodied practice that feels very different. So this is where, when you start to make love in this way with a partner, it completely transforms the sexual experience, because it's not just that raw release of sex energy, which can make us feel like we didn't really connect after we had sex. This is why also, when you engage purely in the first level sex, in the animalistic sex, it's very easy to maybe have sex with people and kind of just let them go afterwards. It was just sex, it doesn't matter. There's no attachment. It's just sex. You hear that quite often. And that is because you only engaged your sex centers. You didn't engage anything else. But when you start to bring the sexual energy up into the body, and you start to connect your energy centers, like from your heart and from your higher centers, then the connection and the deep level of intimacy that happens is very, very different. And it bonds you in a way where we have an ability and the possibility to meet each other on a very deep level, and we have the possibility to actually be transformed by the sexual energy itself, as it affects our whole body. So this is something that a large portion of humanity has still not had access to, because religion has kept us separate from this knowledge. It kept it secret for a very, very long time. And still today we have pornography that is so widespread and conditioning young men and young women and people of all ages to remain in the first level of animalistic sex, as if that is all there is. So yes, so this information is coming out more and more now, and I feel it's more important than ever at this time of history of humanity, that in order to really claim our sovereignty, claim your sovereignty as a man, it's absolute requirement, necessity, the way I see it, to start to actually take charge of your sexual life force and start to work with it consciously. We have the ability to do this for a reason. We have a choice as humans to use sexual life force and transform it into higher frequencies that translates into love, care, compassion, intuition, spiritual, psychic abilities, the ability to really stand in our power and really become fully awakened as humans, as opposed to staying in the level where we kind of just functioning the way it's always been without questioning. And this is why I'm saying that a man who is sexually self-empowered cannot very easily be manipulated and controlled. And that's a fact. Because when you start to allow the sexual energy to raise up into your body, you're awakening areas of your body and psyche that might not have been awake or fully awake before. This is like supercharging yourself with the source of life. And we could go way down the rabbit hole here, but I'm not going to do that today. But to me, it makes very much sense that this information has been hidden for a reason by the powers to be for a very long time, because people can't be controlled any longer when you start to allow yourself access to use this energy with consciousness and purpose. If you choose to use it into channeling it purely into work and creativity, that's your choice. I prefer a combination of that with conscious sacred sexuality, tantric sacred sexuality. That's an expression of this energy from a place where we're not just operating from the lower base chakra, but we're transforming the energy up into the body so that we can have very much expanded sexual experiences. Okay, I'm gonna have a quick look here and see if there's any comments. Let's see. Okay, no comments, it seems like. 2 people watching, that's great. Whoever you are, great to have you here. Okay, so I want to talk now a bit about another question that I got from a member of the group. Was asking about any tips on how to approach meditation if you struggle to calm your mind down, if you feel that your mind is very busy, like after a day of work, you're coming home, you want to meditate, but the thoughts are still going round and round and round because you've had a very busy day. And this is a very normal and common phenomenon. And I actually love this question because it reminds me of the teachings of Osho that I received many, many years ago when I went to India the first time, about 3 decades ago. Because Osho, if you didn't know about him, was the Indian guru, enlightened man who had a lot of Western followers. He also actually has more Indian followers apparently, but he became especially known with Westerners because he had an approach to meditation that worked for the busy Western mind. Because a lot of Westerners that tried traditional meditation, they didn't have success with it because they're just too busy in their heads. They didn't have it in their culture of the ability to slow down and meditate and be still. And it just seemed too hard. The positions, the lotus positions, sitting cross-legged is too hard. And so a lot of Westerners struggle with traditional styles of meditation. So what Osho did was he developed some specific methods of meditation to suit the busy and untrained Westerner to be able to start to meditate and to reach the states of inner calm and stillness and no mind. So I've talked about this before, and I might put some links down here in the comments afterwards to videos that I've done previously, because I have touched on this actually on several times, especially in the first series of videos that I did in this group that were hashtagged Total Tranquility. That's the 7 of those videos, hashtag 1 to 7 Total Tranquility. Excuse me. So I will link those videos down the bottom here so you can find them as well. So there's different ways that we can approach this, and Osho developed a few meditations specifically for Westerners, and he calls them dynamic meditations or active meditations. So the idea behind that is that to reach a meditative state, to still ourselves, we first need to get the tension out of our body. We first need to throw out all the garbage that we're carrying, because we are so full of thoughts, so full of tension, so full of accumulated stuff that we can't find stillness very easily. So he created the active meditation so that you can rid yourself of all that energy, and then afterwards it's a lot easier to be calm and still. So he created a few meditations. Actually, most of his meditations were active. There's several of them, but the two most well known are the dynamic meditation and Kundalini meditation, and you can find them online if you search them. Osho's dynamic meditation and Osho's Kundalini meditation, that shows you how you can do this. And Kundalini specifically is very easy to do at home. Dynamic could be a little bit trickier because it involves screaming and shouting. So depending on where you live, if you have neighbors around, it is possible to do it silently. But if you haven't done a loud dynamic meditation, I really, really recommend that you find an Osho meditation center to try this. And those meditation centers are all around the world, in most major cities, and they usually have a meditation hall where you do this meditation every morning, 6 or 7 a.m. in the morning, usually very early. It's a starting the day meditation that has 5 stages that are all designed to really shake up and get rid of all that old rubbish that we're carrying around, purify our lungs, and really ground ourselves into our body so that we can connect with the stillness in preparation for the day. So I'm not going to go through those meditations here, but you can find them online if you search for them. And there's also other meditations by Osho that are based on movements, so that we first disperse the accumulated energy and then find a place of stillness and calm. So if you don't want to go and do that whole meditation, there's shortcuts to, not necessarily as good, I'd have to say though, but this still works. So if you're coming home from work, let's say, and you're thinking that you're going to sit down and meditate, it might be hard because your head is just too busy. So what you can do then is to go into some intense physical exercise first. You can go for a run, or jump up and down, run around your house 20 times, or play intensively with your dog. Maybe I suppose that had to be quite intensively then, but basically doing strenuous exercise that really is not just a walk in the park, but is literally really getting your heartbeat up, getting your breathing up, and maintaining that for a while. So everyone here that's into sports or exercise, that after going for a run or something similar, you feel relaxed because you have thrown out all that tension and you really connected with your body, and it's much easier to relax. This is why also people that do regular exercise really feel the need to keep it up, because you can feel how pleasant it is afterwards. You can really relax afterwards. So that's a great way of doing it. A really quick way of doing it, of getting yourself in the mood for meditation, is to do a couple of minutes of gibberish. And I will link that also down here below, because I have shown gibberish on at least 2 occasions in this group. So I'm not going to do it again today. It's quite a sight to see me do gibberish. And I might even have scared some group members sometimes with my videos of gibberish. So what this is, for those of you who don't know, gibberish is 2 minutes of gibberish is nonsense language. It's a language that doesn't have any meaning to the words, but you speak it with utmost intensity. You throw all your passion into nonsense language, and you throw it out. You really put all your energy into throwing it out, and you use your whole body to do it with lots of noise, so that you can visualize that you're emptying your mind. You're completely emptying your head of everything that's in there that's not needed right now. And you do that intensively for 2 minutes. And it's best to set an alarm so that you hear when the 2 minutes are up, because you don't want to be distracted by checking your watch or anything like that. Set a loud alarm. In the ashram in Pune in India, we used to have a big gong at the start, and everybody in Buddha Hall would go crazy gibberish for 2 minutes, and a big gong at the end when it's finished. So and when you do gibberish like we did it there, if you do it together with people, it's very important that you really do it. Osho used to say, if you don't do it, but you just stand there while everybody around you doing gibberish, you're going to pick up all of their rubbish, and you don't want that to happen, right? So it's important that you throw it out, but you're probably going to do it by yourself anyway. So gibberish is my favorite method of quickly getting in the mood for meditation, because it takes only 2 minutes. If you give it your everything, it's really effectful. You can also do it if you in any other situation where you want to come back to center and activate yourself. It can be if you're feeling tired in the afternoon, you're feeling like you're falling asleep at your desk, you need to focus, even like before a drive if you're tired, or in the middle of a drive if you're tired, to stop the car, pull over to the side of the road, do 2 minutes of gibberish, and you are guaranteed to super oxygenate your bloodstream and really wake yourself up. So it works both ways. It works to wake you up if you're feeling tired and drowsy, and it also helps you to get to a space of stillness afterwards, because you've thrown out everything that was sort of weighing on you. So yes, link to gibberish in the comments below so that you can watch that video and see how I'm looking very funny when I'm showing you gibberish. But anyone can do it. So I think that was everything for today, and really curious to hear any comments to this on the sex energy transmutation, and yeah, the different approaches to doing this work for yourself, and how this is more important than ever at this time of our evolution, the way I see it. You know, if you haven't been interested in this before, haven't done it before, if you're in this group, you are here for a reason. I didn't add anyone to this group. If you're here because you chose to, which means, yeah, it's time to take action. It's time to do it. Find a way to get started if you haven't yet. You don't need anyone else for it. You don't need a partner. All you need is your own room where you can close the door and get started. Okay. And actually, even if you don't have your own room, you can still do it with the sex energy transmutation that doesn't involve the sexual practice. You can do it wherever you are.